Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Chris and Andre Show.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Chris and Andre Show. We're glad you joined us. As always, I'm Andre.
And I'm Chris.
We're going to have to add music so you can do that and it doesn't distract me.
It took me a while editing to get it synced up right, the way that I liked it. Where I was like, okay, yeah, that's where the music needs, like that. That way I actually do look like I'm kind of on beat a little bit.
We appreciate you guys joining us. If you haven't had a chance, if you're watching us on YouTube or listening to our audio version, please subscribe, like, share, all the things. All the things. We want you to do all the things.
Yes, all of them.
It gives us a chance. It gives us a chance to grow our audience and hopefully, have potential guests. Who knows? Maybe somebody that knows somebody wants to be a guest and share their opinion.
Yeah. Super shout out to our 2 latest YouTube subscribers. Thank you, whoever you are. Maybe you only make it this far in this video. You're like, I got what I came for. I'm out of here. But hopefully you stick around. I think we got some fun stuff to talk about today. But
that's true. Well, hey, let's get into it.
Sports.
I watched a couple things that are on top of my mind. First is the Kwame thing, dude.
Okay, so yeah, I guess Steven Jackson and Matt Barnes have a podcast because who doesn't have a podcast? Like freaking Don Lemon and Chris Cuomo have a podcast. Apparently,
they jacked our idea,
coming after our market clearly. But don't worry, we are not afraid to take on the big boys of CNN. But yeah, so I guess they were talking some smack about Kwame Brown. Then Gilbert Arenas showed up somehow, and then Kwame took it very personally, which I could understand because he's kind of been like a punchline at NBA for a while, and I'd probably get sick and tired of that too. But I don't know. Like, he just started going after everybody, like, one by one by one. He was like, okay, Jamel Hill, I got thoughts for you. Like Stephen A. Smith, I got thoughts for you. Skip Bayless, you're cool, but I still got thoughts for you. Like,
he told Money, I don't know why you gave me a pass. But the thing I respect about it, and I know that these are public figures, and I like his comment about Kobe, right? I've never been a Kobe fan, but I understand people rock with Kobe heavily. And like his thoughts on MJ, totally get it. Like, but nobody knew the whole story, but everybody was coming at him. And like, full disclosure, when he said I'm a grown man and the way I grew up, you don't come at a grown man like that. I was like, I feel you, my dog, because
apparently a lot of people did.
Like real talk. I may not say a lot to a lot of people, but there's some conversations I'm not having. It's just not going to be a thing, and I'm not going to sit there with my, sorry for this phrase, with my balls in my throat and let you come at me and just take it like that. It's just, no.
No, that's much more my style. Like.
Well, I don't recommend that. That's not a good way to live life,
Fortunately, I don't find myself in that situation very much because I'm a pretty likable guy.
Well, that's true. And here's the thing about athletes, and like I get like the perception that we as fans or observers may have, right, of a player's ability. The part that a lot of people forget is the business of the sport. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So when, for example, he's talking about his trade when he got picked up with the Wizards, the intent was to trade him. Like,
right.
To sign that deal and know that, what do you say?
Yeah.
So it's like you kind of can't come off at people. Maybe it's not their ability. Maybe it's just the organization they're a part of, and maybe their chess moves. And he just happened to be a target.
Yeah, I don't even remember all that. Like, I kind of remember the whole thing about Kwame Brown being the number 1 pick, and then him eventually ending up in LA with, Kobe, and then Andrew Bynum coming in kind of right behind that. And then that was pretty much it. Like, that was the last I really remembered of Kwame Brown. And except for the recurring, like kind of jabs and punchlines that
I don't
tossed his way, because I guess it was like an easy layup for some people.
Yeah, and it's not even warranted. Like I mean, I may not be a fan of a team or a particular player, but I'm never going to try to, like, I don't think I've ever knocked somebody's skills. The dude's in the professional basketball league, so he's got to be good. He can't be garbage. Now, player to player, sure, you can get at him. Like, you guys have that conversation, but with respect.
Yeah.
The
kid was 18, 19 years old when he was drafted, and like went straight to the NBA, like had no real opportunity to develop, was, like you said, like was originally supposed to be traded and then ended up staying there, and now he's with, a not in his prime Michael Jordan.
Right.
Who is notorious for not exactly being like the most friendly of teammates. Like, it is what it is, right? But it's
a raw deal.
Yeah.
It's a raw deal. And like, I'm not, I roll with them on the fact that, don't come at me like that. Like, legit. Like, okay, maybe he's taken on the chin for a long time, but when some people that never played, and and I'm not calling people out, I'm just saying, you never played, like, you really have no room to talk, If best you did was like, rec league, then shut up. Like, you don't know what it's like. Exactly. Money was 18 years old when he went to the NBA. Shut up. He got a $25 million deal. Shut up. And don't. The thing that was kind of what actually wrapped me into his conversation was, and I think this is probably coming more from his heart. It's like, and I feel this a lot, like, and this is like, well, it is a thing. So I was walking somewhere the other day, and, there's a couple brothers I saw. I don't know them, but we did a nod, right? And it's like, we got to, I respect what you're doing at whatever level, and I acknowledge you. And that's a part of what that means in my understanding of it, and why, like if I didn't give somebody the what's up, like, I could lose my black card just for being stupid. But, like, they should at the same time acknowledge what he did and don't come at him like that. Like, I'm never gonna go around knocking down somebody that's achieved something, because in my culture, there's not a lot of us that can get in that spotlight. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like an E area. I would, funny E area story. We went to, I guess, the retirement of one of the executives' party in Durham that one time, and all the black kids we're hanging around each other, and we were prompted, and I've heard this before, well, when you guys are all standing around each other, people think something's wrong. And I respect the person that said it, and I knew why they said it, and I understand that perception, but we shouldn't have to police each other in business. And that's how I was like, he shouldn't have to police himself with his own people right now. Like, somebody should have his back. Yeah. His stats may not have been up there, but we don't know the context, right? But I watched every video, and I was vibing. I was getting mad a little bit too. I was like, it's crazy, real talk. There's so much, not just and I'm not trying to like get preachy on this, but not just the entertainment value. He was saying more than what probably a lot of people were even hearing, to be honest with you.
Yeah. So I'll be honest, like, when I tuned in, basically, I got on Twitter and I saw Kwame Brown was trending, and I was like, okay, well, what's up with that? And then it was like, starting at the end, And I'm like, okay, well, where did this begin? And so then it's like I had to go to Google to go figure out, like, where did this all start? And start reading and watching some of these videos. And I'm just like, oh, okay, well. But yeah, like, I guess at first I was kind of like, okay, so Kwame Brown is doing something ridiculous, you know, like. But then the more I kind of watched, I'm like, you know, I would probably be in the exact same position where if, you know, like I had the opportunity to be a number 1 draft pick somewhere. Not that I would, but maybe like a bowling league.
Stupid, yeah.
I used to be a decent bowler. I took bowling like 3 different semesters at NC State.
Jesus Christ. Stop. All right.
You used to get to go down to Western Lanes and go bowl for an hour. Like, I mean, why wouldn't you opt for that elective every year?
You're right. You're a
Right.
superstar, number 1 draft pick.
But yeah, so anyways, I like, if you're just sitting out there getting constantly bombarded with, or like just kind of hearing people talking smack about you and taking cheap shots, like at some point I feel like I'd be like, no, you know what? Like, okay, this is what I think about what you said, like you, and you know, I mean, it's like with Kevin Durant had the whole thing where he had like the, you know, fake accounts and stuff like that, and was defending himself through these fake accounts, which I think is on like a whole nother, like, at least with Kwame, it's like, this dude's just out here like, no, I'm going to record another video. I'm going to put it on YouTube. I'm going to post it for everybody to see. Like,
I mean, the thing that people forget is, like, you know, I always tell people, you know, where I come from doesn't determine where I'm going. But at the same time, I don't forget my roots. So, like, there's so much you can say to me, but then there's a part where it's like, nah, you got to stop talking, yo.
Well, and it really seemed, because he touched on it briefly, but it seemed like it really struck a nerve, because it seemed like his son had seen some of it, you know, or seen like a bunch of it, and that he felt like it was really affecting him or his relationship with him or something to that effect. And like, as a father, like, I would imagine also, like, if people were out there just talking shit about me and my kid was like having to absorb it on the internet regularly, I'd be like, man, this. You know, like,
yeah, there's, like I said, man, there's only so much you can say to certain people, man. He may have some cheese in his pocket, but like, his story's his story. Like, he's a kid from the PJs, and you know, Money's out there playing ball. Like I always say, I can play basketball, but I'm not a baller. So he's that guy, right?
yeah.
So if he's like playing kids for their shoes, that's a different level, first of all. But, you know, I respect what he's saying. And I think, I mean, people, they can have their opinion, true, but do it with respect. Don't disrespect. Don't call somebody out of their name or diminish what they do. Like, if somebody does something I don't like, specifically, I don't like what you did.
Yeah.
And leave it like that. But don't be like, and your mom, my mom. like, like, that's like, we're doing something different, bro. Like, it's not that way. And it just, like, I literally just watched all those videos. So like, my head is in that space of like, yeah, don't come at me like that. It's not a thing.
So speaking of respect, the Knicks are apparently on their way to the playoffs.
4 seed, yo. Now,
not even like just squeaking in.
No, they did their thing, man.
They
I'm
did.
so excited.
That's awesome.
I'm like Spike Lee excited, but I have to keep...
Except you got like 2 feet on him.
Yeah. Yeah, I was like quiet, like excited, but I'm like, yeah, I don't believe in luck, so I'm like, I don't want to jinx it.
Yeah.
I'm just waiting for them to fall apart, which is sad to say. It's like, because that's my squad, and I always complain about, I just want to get to the playoffs. I don't want to.
Yeah. And so you're there.
Yeah, and I'm going to take it. That's a win for me.
So, I mean, this is house money that they're playing with now, right?
Yeah.
Or do they have expectations now that they've gone in as a 4 seed in your mind?
I think that
if they lose 0-4 in the first round that they play,
it's fine.
Okay.
I think it's fine because I think that for any team, any sport, when you get to that point where you get to all right, we played our regular season pretty strong, you can duplicate that. The foundation should be there, right? And players, they are interchangeable. Like there's some things that will continue to work. Look at the Patriots, right? Look at any team that's won. Like look at the Lakers. There are some things where
look at the Tom Brady's.
Exactly. Look at Tom. Right. I mean,
no, I know. He's like, I'll just go down here and I'll win the same way.
Yeah. I mean, math is math, right? You can change the language you're speaking to say 2 + 2 = 4, but it still equals 4. And I think that the Knicks really, and they struggled for me like the last 7 to 9 years of getting those pieces together. And I think they figured something out, although unfortunately without Melo. It would have been sweeter for me if Melo could have been part of their success right now, to be honest with you. Because I think Melo was an underrated player, although a lot of players give him a lot of love, So I like that. And I've in basketball I have the Knicks, and then there's certain players where I'm just like, yo, I rock with you. And Melo's one of those guys on my list of people.
Well, that would be both. I mean, he was a Knick, and you rock with him.
Yeah. And when he was at Denver, I was always like, I was on the Melo bandwagon because he's just an amazing player. Like Iverson. There's a lot of players where I'm like, yo, that guy's just nice, and I respect that. So I'm happy.
That's where I've been with LeBron. I mean,
yeah. Hats off to LeBron. I know he gets crapped on all. I saw it's like how much better do you want this man to be? Right?
But it's what it boils down to is a matter of, talk radio crap where they need talking points. It's like they need viewership, and so what do? We discuss LeBron because there's 50% of the people think he's the greatest and 50% think he's not, and it's a polarizing subject, and so it's easy fodder for, clicks and eyeballs and...
Well, they can go screw themselves.
I mean, I agree.
They should talk facts. I don't want to hear your BS spin talk. That's why I don't listen to a lot of sports radio shows because they piss me off. It's like,
that's why I stopped. I mean, I used to. I used to listen to, especially the local guys, regularly.
Yeah.
And now there's really just 2 podcasts, maybe 3 that I listen to. Number 1 is probably the Chris and Andre show.
I rock with Bomani.
Yeah, I love Bomani. And I don't know if you noticed, he changed his artwork for the cover of his podcast.
No, I didn't.
Recently. It looks very nice. So yeah, Bomani, if you're out there listening, we're
totally
big fans.
I rock with you, man. I think he's one of the only legit guys I can rock with because I don't want to hear garbage talk about athletes. Here's where I get pissed off when it comes to athletes. These guys are in the top 1% of their sport. After that, shut up.
I'd just like to point out for everybody listening, this is coming from the man who left Tom Brady off of his top 10 NFL quarterbacks list.
On purpose, because...
I respect the game, but I hate Tom Brady.
But I may hate a team because they're always always going to butt head with my team. Right?
Trust me. I mean, Peyton Manning was like that for me. I did not like Peyton Manning when he was in Indianapolis because Phillip Rivers and the Chargers were constantly having to play him.
Right.
And granted, the Chargers kind of had his number for a little while there, which was nice. But I hated the fact that everyone was like, oh, Peyton Manning, he's the greatest quarterback to ever play.
But he is one of the greatest.
He is.
And so it's not
on my top 10 list.
Yeah, and I don't think... All right, so Tom Brady, I know you're not listening, but I want to say it wasn't you, dude. I really don't like anything from Boston.
For all you know, that episode is what propelled him to win a Super Bowl this year. So he may be thanking us right now. So Tom Brady, you're welcome. I mean, America, we're sorry, but Tom Brady, you're welcome.
Some no-name in North Carolina is giving me a hard time.
He's doubting me?
But to be fair, I did say that he was going to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
To
I think
be
he
fair.
did. I'd have to go dig it up, but
Yeah.
I believe you.
To be fair, I did say that he could win a Super Bowl.
Yeah,
Like-
no, I do remember you saying that, at least. I don't know if it was will, but definitely could.
Yeah. So I've never doubted his ability. It's just like, I don't want to see him in the playoffs. Like,
I don't want to see him in the top 10 list. Yeah, I don't want to see him in the playoffs either. Like, I mean, the one time that the Seahawks had to play him in the playoffs and the 2 or 3 times, I mean, like, that was Phillip Rivers had to play Peyton Manning and Tom Brady like 5 out of the 7 times that he
Right.
was in playoff games. It's like,
I mean, I'll tell you what, the Chargers, like, I've never been like a fan because they were a pain in the neck for Denver. So
Yeah.
it was never like anything more than that. It's like, nah, I just don't want to see them. You know, the less I can see them, the happier I am.
so your love for Phillip Rivers has only developed because of me, is what you're saying.
My disdain for Phillip Rivers has only grown because of you. Like, it's like he's everywhere. Like, you know that ice cream shop in Durham? Yeah, Phillip Rivers ate there once.
Yeah,
What?
yeah. In fact,
cares?
they own that now. That's him and his wife Tiffany.
So I've been trying to watch baseball. It's been kind of off. Like the Yankees have been up and down, and
There's only like one story, well, 2 stories in baseball that have interested me
Tell me.
this
What do you
so
got?
far. So one is Trey Turner, NC State shortstop, who started out the season having like a phenomenal year. I don't know. I haven't seen many things lately about him, so maybe he's cooled off a little bit. But the Nats haven't been winning very much, so that probably doesn't help. But then Carlos Rodon, the White Sox pitcher, former NC State pitcher. Sorry, I can't help it. It's how I decide what I'm going to pay attention to.
so when I see that you want to talk about baseball, like I start fact checking these guys. I'm like, they're all at state.
They're all the state guys. How else would I know about this? But yeah, like again, having a very good start to the season, lost recently. But then I see that everybody's all upset about this 3-0 pitch home run in the Twins, was it Twins White Sox game?
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? So baseball is one of these sports where they have all these crazy rules, right? Like these unwritten rules of baseball where you're not supposed to do this and you never do this. And
Right.
it seems like a lot of those rules have started to kind of go away, like the bat flipping and some of the, showboating and stuff like that. But this, I did not realize. I mean, I guess the guy is a position player that's in there pitching. He's throwing like 50-mile-an-hour, loopers. But, I mean, if you're the Twins, like, I don't know. It's like in football, man. If you can't stop me from running into the end zone, I'm just supposed to, like, fall down so I don't hurt your feel. Like, that hurts your feelings less. If it was a 2-0 pitch, then it's okay, or if a 3-1 pitch, like I don't, you know what I mean? Like that's what I don't that was a strike.
Yeah.
What was he supposed to do? He's just supposed to take the strike? Sorry. I'll shut up for a second.
No, I mean, I like your opinion about it. Like I personally, like a couple weeks ago, there was a disagreement about a record. Like this pitcher had this great game, and I'm like, look, guys, all in out, if the organization is going to give this guy the record, and like let's just call it what it is, and like any reasonable person would be like, yeah, that's what he did, right? And when I didn't read this whole story, but I'm like, why would you swing on a 3-0? Like.
But that's what I'm saying. Like the dude threw it across the plate. Like if the goal was to not try and get, like you have to get guys out at some point if the game's going to move on, right? So you're saying that they should just stand there and let every single pitch go by and hope that he throws 3 strikes so that the game can be over faster. Like, if that's the case, just implement a mercy rule in baseball so that, it's like Little League.
No.
We won't hurt anybody's feelings anymore.
Well,
everybody can have a trophy at the end of the game, and we'll all get orange slices.
But I think that's like one of those political, like, I'm trying to ignore you because I'm going to start laughing. But that's one of those political moves in that whole argument. It's like, it doesn't really matter, No,
it doesn't. I mean, but that's what I really feel like if you're the Twins and you don't like that, then make the pitch unhittable, right? Or put an actual pitcher in. Like, the game's over. I don't like if I'm just saying, like, at this point, you're throwing strikes. The guy's standing there. He's like, and the other piece, right? He's on a rookie contract,
right?
So at the end of the year, he gets paid based on his stats, or his next contract is going to be based on his stats. And one home run, 29 to 30, could be the difference between a couple $1 million here or there, regardless of when he hit it, right?
So I'm going to give you my my overall feeling about baseball.
Yeah.
After I want to say the second strike in the late 80s.
Yeah.
I lose track of the Pet Submitting.
Yeah, that was like 89, 88, somewhere in there.
They're like one more stupid decision away from me not watching baseball ever again. Like, they're like, it's just like, hey, I'll let you have your, like, for me, that falls in the category of like, you're getting close, right? Those are things that go back to like, you make that stink for the fans. You make that stink because you want press or attention on your club. It has nothing to do with the game. Like, that's what frustrates me about, like, baseball. Yeah. So
I just think ultimately poor strategy by the Twins. You put a guy up there who hits home runs, you give him a pitch. I mean, it looked like a freaking home run derby pitch. If that, like, and he's just standing there like, well, and
it's his job.
Exactly. Like, exactly. And so I don't know. I just feel like if it's an unwritten rule and you're gonna make a big stink about it, then just make it a written rule. You can't
because the Players Association will,
because it's a stupid thing. Because you can't have a rule. If it's a 3-0 pitch, you're not allowed to swing. Like, what if he'd swung and hit it short of a home run, and it just been a fly out, right? Would anybody care? No.
But remember what I said earlier? Why do you swing on a 3-0 pitch, right? Like, it always. I mean, from a person
you think that the ending of this game is as stupid as I do. Because you're tired of watching this guy throw loopers over the plate to you and your teammates while all you want to do is have a shot at hitting an actual home run. And you get a pitch and you go, smack.
Yeah, because everything else is going to be off, right? So
the chances are you're not going to be playing with Chicago again next year anyway.
So my point is, like, why swing on a 3? I mean, yeah. They got what they wanted. They got people talking about it.
Yeah,
and again, sports radio, it's your fault too. I'm kind of concerned about the Olympics. Like, apparently, people in Japan don't want the Olympics because they're not doing so well with the vaccine.
Yeah, I'd heard that they'd had a bunch of flare-ups, outbreaks, clusters and stuff like that of COVID over there, and have been really struggling. And so it's been kind of up and down whether or not they were going to do it. I feel like there had been talk of like a B site, kind of like Plan B. But
I don't know. All I've been able to catch is like the citizens of Japan or in that particular city are like, no, we're good. Like hard pass.
Does the city listen?
Well, I think they're
a lot of money.
Yeah, their logic is, well, there's going to be no fans there. Even the athletes' families aren't going to go to the Olympics. So,
what's the
for
point?
them, it's the money play, right? I don't have an answer. Part of me selfishly is like, well, our soccer team, only half of our soccer representation is going to be there, so it doesn't really matter. But I'd like to see the women, get another gold medal.
Yeah.
Other than that, I'm not really in the track and field like that or swimming. I just want to. I'm probably only going to watch like the football. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, I used to be more into the Olympics when I was younger. It used to have all of this kind of sparkle and grandeur, and I mean, every once in a while there'd be an interesting story like Michael Phelps, going for a record number of golds and stuff.
I'll be honest.
I'll tell you what,
respect to Phelps.
Yeah.
I didn't care.
You know why I cared? Because the guy that swam the third leg in that race
went to NC State. I just can't make it stop.
We're everywhere. I mean, I don't know what you want from me.
Well, that's fine. And I know there's a couple of female Carolina swimmers that did really well.
Yeah.
It's just not a sport that I'm like going to watch.
Yeah, no, I understand. Like, and again, I used to be more into that, find it more interesting, I guess. Part of it, I think, also is like that, I don't know, that I think when I was younger, I had more of that kind of like blind patriotism. Where it's like, USA, USA. And now it's a little more like, USA?
I think the U should be silent.
Yeah, maybe that's like, SA? So yeah, like I feel like that plays a role in it though, because it is so. It used to be like, go America, like we got to win all the golds, and now it's like the more that I've grown up and learned about everything, I'm kind of like, well, do we really need to win all the golds, and do we really deserve to win all the golds, and ultimately, what do the Olympic Games even really matter? Oh wait, they don't. It means absolutely nothing whatsoever. Like,
well, they do matter.
Okay.
I mean, okay, so gymnastics, right? You have a Simone Biles. You have a, like there are some sports that don't get the national attention. They only get them at the Olympics, like gymnastics.
So why don't we just limit it to those things and get rid of everything else?
Because they added badminton. They added like.
Okay, badminton's pretty dope though. I mean, you watch those guys, like those shuttlecocks. Sorry, I just wanted to say shuttlecock.
I mean, there are a few like I'll watch gymnastics for certain athletes. I'll watch like taekwondo every now and then. It's not my art of choice, but I'll watch it because it's interesting to see how those guys compete.
I would watch the wrestling when
I'll watch
NC
volleyball.
State guys were in it.
Actually, one of my son's friends, my oldest son, he wrestled at NC State, and he's a big kid. They wrestled at Cary High, and he tried out for the Olympics. He was freaking huge, dude, like big old ham hock hands. But I mean, so there's like some sports like they fit in the rotation for a reason. Like if like some of like a couple of our son's friends went to college and they tried out for the Olympic team, and we'd watch wrestling, for example. Gymnastics, sure, because it's been more exciting the last 2 or 3 Olympics. Let's see what else. I may watch. I mean, but some of the sports are kind of like, what? What do we?
I mean, the fact that some of these things are still sports.
Yeah, hacky sack. Come on,
that's not an Olympic sport, is it really?
It might be.
Did they add that? I could see it.
They added a couple things where I'm like, what do you? That's not. I mean, it's a competitive thing to do, but I wouldn't really call it like
a sport.
A sport.
I mean, there's some of the stuff in the winter games too, where
ice. Was it luge? Not the
ice luging.
The thing with the.
Don't you dare come after my game of what is it called? Curling. Curling.
That is ridiculous.
It's the sport that I think I was born to play. Just born in the wrong continent.
It's the dumbest.
You've never
I'm
seen
sorry,
this. No, I know it's. I know
I don't.
Not.
I don't.
It's the weirdest game. Like how does that become a game? I mean, it's basically ice shuffleboard. That's what it is.
I can't.
I mean, just being honest, like it's like shuffleboard. Is shuffleboard in the Summer Olympics? Is that it? That's what I want to know. Do we have Olympic shuffleboard teams?
I don't care because I'm not watching that crap, man. It's like 3
but
hours.
like shuffleboard is one of my favorite games to play when I'm on vacation. That's a classic vacation game, right? Maybe that's some WPS. I just remember, like, when I was a kid, we were going on vacation, and they would have the shuffleboards, and we were like, yeah, let's go play shuffleboard. We were, like, 3 or 4 years old. It just seemed hilarious to shoot these pucks across the board and then watch them clang in the other ones.
No. Okay, so since our society's going to crap.
Wait, what does that have to do with our society going to crap? It's
Because
because we have a lack of shuffleboard.
Yeah, sure.
I'm telling you. It's a time-honored tradition.
Pop culture.
I know you mentioned Paul Mooney passing away.
I didn't mention it, but I did put it in the
Well, yeah.
the show.
Something to talk about. Like, he had some good comedy sets, and one thing I never, like, even when Kobe died, like, I'm not that guy, right? It's
Yeah.
like, it's sucks, but
No, I mean, I literally put it in here so that I could do a snippet that's like, we say goodbye to Paul Mooney, and then we get like 85 hits. Because that's what happened with Sean Connery.
that's terrible. Like, Sean Connery was my dude. Paul Mooney was... I know.
Because like I saw it, and I mostly remember Paul Mooney. I guess like I was really introduced to Paul Mooney probably with the Chappelle Show when he would do the Blackstradamus.
Yeah. I don't look at... I never... It was a while ago. I stopped looking at him as a comedian because he's always been more of an activist.
Mm-hmm.
As a comedian, I saw a set he did on Shaq's special, like that Shaq does every now and then, and it's actually pretty decent. But his comedy is more... It's like that Chappelle level of like make you think about the things that are happening around you, and I stopped looking at him more of as a comedian and more of a person that's actually speaking truth to the insanity. My loss for that is there's not a lot of voices that are, and I hate the word ally, like there's not a lot of non-allies that are trying to speak honestly and that get a pass to speak some level of truth to the insanity that we have. And I think Dave Chappelle has a good... he's got that voice right. He's one of the few people that actually have that voice. So I look at it as a loss of... There aren't a lot of black people out there saying things that, in a way that we understand it or other people can understand it. They're like, yeah, that's actually happening right now. So it sucks, It's like... I'm not comparing him to Martin Luther King, but one thing I always talk about with my kids is that, as a culture and as a society and for black people, we have continuously lost people that actually show a level of leadership in our community, or they can, say something publicly that make people think. And we typically haven't replaced a lot of those people. Those other people aren't stepping up to that level. The only person I can honestly say I've seen do that really would be Dave Chappelle. Chris Rock is kind of, and it's interesting. It's all comedians that I see in this light. I don't see like politicians or community leaders doing, filling that role. I typically see like Dave Chappelle, Chris Rock, Paul Mooney. Not anybody else.
Yeah, it's really interesting because I think even across kind of the racial lines, like comedians have always served such a kind of vital role in modern American society, I think, and kind of like pointing out a lot of those things and in the moment making you laugh, but then like it really isn't like that after the show, right? Where you're going home and you're like, I laughed at that, but damn, like
he really meant that.
Like that's true. You're like, is it funny? You know, like I laughed because I realize how true it is, and because he said it. But like, shouldn't we be doing something about this kind of thing? You know, or I think just like really helping to open people's eyes to that. I mean, I think not. I don't know.
Well, you know why stereotypes are funny? Because they're typically true, right? And I always say that, I'm like, well, that's as long as you're not being racist about it, it's typically true. And I watched, I rewatched Joe Coy. He's really funny, Filipino guy.
Yep.
He actually said the same thing. I'm like, yeah. So it's not just me. There's a like stereotypes are funny because they're true, but the minute you making it a weapon against somebody, you're being racist.
I mean, we talked about like Tyler Perry, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think that's another like some of that is just like classic kind of stereotypes, right? And it's he plays to that because it's like wink, wink, nod, you know, and there's an audience there that really appreciates that.
But a funny thing is, and I agree with what you're saying, but we talked about it when we talked about Black AF, right?
Yeah,
that was that was the lens he saw his community to,
right? And
I got in a fight with my mom at Christmas about Tyler Perry. I was not a fan.
Yeah,
because I felt like he was making his experience every black person's experience, and that's what people were identifying. I'm like, yeah, but that's, you know, that wasn't my experience, and I was getting defensive about that. But when I actually watched that episode, actually prior to that, I saw about some of the work he was doing in Atlanta and helping people get jobs and starting, you know, places where people can work, all those, and I was like softening up. And then when I heard him actually, and I'm sure he wasn't just, I hope and I believe it wasn't just a script.
Yeah.
That's his perspective. That's his experience. And I was like, yeah, let me ease up off my dude because he's right, you know, like my experience as a black man is not the same as his. And, you know, there's a lot of people that may have that same experience. So I've got to not think he's just selling out to make some money, but that if that's what he saw growing up, then who am I to take that away from him? So,
right.
You know, so God bless you, Tyler Perry. Keep, you know, and Paul Mooney for me is like one of those people like, and I'm not an activist. I'm just kind of like, sometimes you need certain people to not necessarily speak truth to a situation, but to speak honestly about a situation. And I say that particularly because truth is, it's a natural law. You kind of can't deny truth, like gravity, right? What goes up must come down. It's a truth.
Yeah.
The fact is, I threw something at you, it hit you, and then it fell down. So the fact is, we can do things that influences a fact, right? Inequality. We influence somebody else's reality. Truth is undeniable. We can't deny it for so long before it catches up to us. And I think that having people that can speak honesty to our situations and to our society, it's a very powerful thing. George Carlin, same way, very honest person.
Yeah.
Richard Pryor. There's a lot of comedians, and I watch a lot of comedy shows, and the further you go back in time, the more you see that being prevalent. Robin Williams, even though he had other problems, but a very honest person when it came to that, and brought humor to some of the ugliness of our society. So I do respect comedians a lot.
Yeah. You mentioned Chris Rock. Christy sent me the trailer for I guess one of the new Saw series that he was going to be a part of, and I'm like, why did you send this to me? Like, I hate these movies. I hate them with a passion. Somehow I ended up sitting through the second one in theaters, and I had never seen the first one, mind you. I'll give you one guess why I did it.
Because you were working there.
No.
You're high.
No, because it was a girl. Jeez.
I was like, I didn't want to play you out like that. Like I was trying to do everything. I was like,
no, it's because it was a girl. It was in high school or whatever.
My first thought was like, it was a chick.
It was a chick. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm glad it was your first thought. I appreciate you trying to give me the benefit of the doubt. But I was really hoping you wouldn't there.
Because I totally would not like put my. I'd be like, no, we're not seeing that. Like, let's go watch Bambi. Like,
no, that was what she wanted to go see with her friends because they had seen the first one and they all liked it. And like, I mean, I'm not a horror movie guy as it is. Like gore, I mean, blood in general. Like, I'm just like, I mean, certain things I can kind of get past, but
right.
That was a whole nother level where I'm like, this whole torture thing, and like, I'm just, no, there is, what is wrong with people that you want to sit through like 12 of these, and now Chris Rock's like, yeah, I'll go make one of these movies. And I'm just like, what? And I was just like, why did you send this to me? And she was like, because Chris Rock is in it. Like, what is he doing? And I'm like, I don't know, but what, like, I need like a heads up next time. It can't just be like,
oh, no, sir. No, sir. I'll tell you what, man. I would give another shout out to the team at CinemaSins.
Yeah.
And yo, that is my new like addiction.
Yeah.
They did everything wrong with Saw, like 1 through I guess they had like 6 or whatever. Yo, they slay those guys. But it's interesting the insights they have on these movies. I'm like, yo, that is kind of stupid. Like, why? Why would you do that? Like, why wouldn't you just shoot that? Like, because these are things I think whenever I do watch like a horror flick.
Yeah.
I'm like, why don't you just shoot that guy? Like, why are you talking to him?
It's the whole, like, you know, the suspension of belief, right? Where it's like, there are certain things that I can look past, right?
Right.
But there's a line that you ultimately cross where you take me out of the moment because I'm like, well, that was dumb. Why didn't they just do this? You know, and like, because it just it breaks the logical paradigm that has already been established through the other stuff in the movie. And so it's like, when, to me, it just feels very lazy or clumsy from a editorial, you know, director's like point of view, where it's like, really? Or from a writer's point of view, where it's like,
yeah, I
that's
blame the
best
writers.
you could come up with. Like,
I blame the writers for a lot of the crappy movies that we have. And I think that the more I watch, and no joke, hats off to CinemaSins. Hats off to, like, for you, you know, like, and doing this podcast. Well, yeah, it gives me some insight of, like, why would you edit it like that, or your insights on movies, right? The more I write, I think about how those stories go. And horror as a genre is kind of like, that's garbage. Like, nothing you're doing makes sense because a real human being would not just, you know, submit to torture. Like, it's just not going to happen. You're not going to, like, I'm going to turn around and you're there, and I'm not going to, like, punch you in the face. Like,
yeah, exactly. Like, oh, I'm going to slowly back up. I'm so scared. Like, oh, there's something behind me. You know, like, yeah, it's the I'm going to run upstairs when there's a serial killer in the house as I run right past the front door that's wide open. You know,
yo, my dude, think about it. I would tell people not to walk behind me and not, like, announce themselves.
Yeah.
Because if I turn around and you're there, you're
gonna get hit. Yeah, but see, like, that's okay. So there's this great movie. It's one of my favorite movies. It's called Behind the Mask: The Rise of Leslie Vernon, and it's this like little. It's kind of like an indie flick, but essentially it's a documentary. It's a mockumentary, and it's this like college, you know, film crew meets up with this guy whose goal it is to become the next like Mike Myers, Jason Voorhees, you know, serial killer in a world where these guys all actually exist, and it's essentially like a profession, like, you know, that they serve this purpose, and you know, it's this whole ridiculous thing. But he kind of takes them behind the scenes in his setup for the big night, you know, like essentially the horror movie, where he's like half sawing branches, you know, and like nailing windows shut so they go out certain ones, you know, and like all of this stuff, and it's amazing. Like, there's a scene where he's like, okay, do you have, like, he's doing cardio, like, they're like, what are you doing? And he's like, do you have any idea how much cardio is involved in this? these people are running away from me, and I have to make it look like I'm catching up to them while I'm walking.
That's always been a mystery, yo. Like that Geico
he's
commercial.
sprinting, and then they turn around, and he's just like slowly walking, and they start running again. And he starts sprinting like full speed.
Like that Geico commercial where they walk away from the car and they go into the barn. The running car. I'm like, yo,
exactly.
My dude, I would never make it in a horror movie. Like I'd be like, nah. First of all, I'm gonna die first.
Yeah,
like it's just like it's a rule.
Let's get the obvious thing out of the way.
But we would never go to Camp Death Murder in the first place,
right?
Because they'd be like, yo, that's the place where like 20 people died last summer, right?
Yeah.
Or you guys can go. I'll catch the next trip.
See, I had this really weird fascination with horror films when I was a kid. I don't know what it was. I think it was just like that feeling of scariness or whatever. But I hated it at the same time.
Right.
Like it gave me horrible nightmares. And so when I got as an adult, I was just like, I don't really care for that stuff. But what I do love are movies like the one I was talking about, or Cabin in the Woods, where it's like, just playing up the tropes and all of the ridiculousness that is horror films, and how lazy the writing kind of is, and kind of explaining how all of these things could possibly be worked behind the scenes. And so it's movies like that I can, or what was it, Ash versus Evil Dead, when that came back on Showtime for a while, like I kind of watched that. I don't know, so stuff like that, like the campy kind of like, oh, let's poke fun at it, is much more my speed. Like I get, you were talking last week how you're like, I don't want comedy in my comic books. I'm like, no, I need tons of comedy in my horror films so that I can actually get through it, because otherwise I'm just like, a cowering mess in the corner by the time I'm done.
Yeah, I don't. Well, I mean, hats off. Like I don't, but I did watch the Everything Wrong with Cabin in the Woods. Again, hats off to CinemaSins. Super addicted to that joint.
It used to be the pitch meeting. Is what we used to just send those back and forth like for like 2 weeks. And Christy was like, I appreciate that you like this so much, but I really can't stand listening to that guy's voice in the background anymore. Like, I need you to put headphones in or something.
That's my house, because my wife's like, so for every sentence, like ding, ding.
Yeah,
and she gets so mad. She's like, no. She goes, I just can't listen to the ding, ding anymore. I'm like, well, it's funny to me. I don't care. And I still watch CinemaSins. I think I've watched all of them though, which is sad. So
well, they'll keep coming out with more. You just need more movies. Speaking of which, last week we disagreed on Venom and the Venom 2 trailer. I see that you have the G.I. Joe Snake Eyes trailer in the list here. So I did watch it beforehand. Looks pretty cool, gonna admit. I will say it's a risky move throwing the word Origins into any movie after the Wolverine fiasco that we had. But what are your thoughts?
I'm totally going to watch it.
Well, I mean, okay. I think we've established on this podcast before that your level of watchability is significantly lower than most people. But what do you think your chances are that you might actually enjoy it?
Because they actually have the writer from the original comics helping them with the movie.
I saw that, which is pretty awesome. I mean, it does. It looks really good, and I like the angle of before he got lost his voice and all that stuff. I used to be into G.I. Joe pretty hardcore.
Every kid, every male kid that I know that was even around in the 80s at some point, or even the early 90s.
Well, and then again, right, like when I got to college, there was that E-Bombs World site where they had all of the G.I. Joe PSAs with the silly voiceovers. And so late at night in our college dorm rooms, we would just stay up watching those. Under
that's fair.
No influences whatsoever.
Wow.
Says the guy wearing a Pothead t-shirt.
Yeah. The worst I did was watch a bunch of Beavis and Butthead, but I was definitely... Yeah, yeah.
So we agree that Snake Eyes G.I. Joe Origins looks pretty good.
Thumbs up. I think that's going to be... And that's what I keep saying about like the comics and that whole genre, right? There are so many stories to tell. And if you tell it the right way, you're probably gonna do okay. And I think having the writer or the person that wrote that particular series of comics influencing it, it's going to be huge. It's like Invincible on Amazon or The Boys, where they get the people that actually, or even Game of Thrones. So I heard for the new spin-offs, the author is going to actually be involved with the production.
I mean, he was involved with the original to a certain
point. For season 8, yeah. I think he dropped off at like season 6, though.
Yeah, he did. He dropped off when he hadn't written anymore, basically. Like, he gave him, and then they were just like, well, okay, I guess we're going to go figure this out.
Yeah. And I think with, and I know it's kind of a month before, it's actually pronounced Shang-Chi. I was corrected. But I think that it's going to be a good action movie, and it's probably going to, on a scale of 1 through 10 on a story, I'd say like a 6 or 7, which will be passable for an action movie.
I mean, it doesn't look like it has much comedy in it, so you should be okay there.
I'm definitely okay there. I mean, because I don't want any comedy in my comics.
No comedy.
Because the thing I like though is when you think about these heroes, right? Now G.I. Joe is like
it's a real American hero.
Yeah, I know. When I was first introduced to G.I. Joe, it was from the cartoon. Yeah. It wasn't from the comics.
Yeah, me too.
So, and then I found out there was a comic, and I started reading the comic when I was a kid.
See, I don't think I ever got to the comic. I think I was always a cartoon fan, and they had like the movies, the cartoon movies.
Oh, the first movie.
Yeah,
it was so dope. I was so hyped for that.
And the toys, obviously, like the action figures. I mean, I had so many G.I. Joes.
So when you look back at that movie now, you're like, this is garbage. Like,
well, yeah, but that's like most of
But they had Don Johnson voice, I think it was Hawk, and so they could actually get big names. So that'd be like phase 1. Even the Transformers, like their first animated movie, right? That's what everybody wanted when we were kids. Now we've graduated to where we can have the CGI and everything be at a completely different level.
Oh, I loved like the first Transformers movie with Shia LaBeouf, amazing. And then they went and got Mark Wahlberg, and I'm like, what are you doing?
No, the animated movie, dude.
Oh, I mean, way back. But then, when they did the new one, and they had the CGI.
Okay, yeah. So
that was cool. The first, the very first one was okay. The rest of them were garbage.
I think all of them were like. It's
okay. Go ahead.
They were all.
We can disagree on this podcast.
They were freaking trash.
I mean, it was some WPS.
It was the trashiest, way away from anything with the Transformers mythology.
It was what's her name? It was
the chick that everybody hates now.
Yeah, the one who was married to Luke Perry. Not Luke Perry. The other guy from 90210. Jason.
What's her name? Megan Fox?
Megan Fox, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. She was just like clickbait for the movie.
Well, yeah. I mean, she literally was there for the skimpy outfits. Like,
yeah. The movie had nothing to do... Like, it was I've seen all of them. And I've seen a couple of them twice. I'm like, this is garbage.
But that's what I'm talking about. Your level of watchability. Like, your watchability meter is so much lower because I saw the first one. I think I saw the second one. And after that, I was like, I'm done. Then I saw Mark Wahlberg come in, and I'm like, no. Like,
because I might watch a train wreck every now and then. Sometimes I just want to see like.
I mean, and I'm not opposed or look. It's not like
I will say this. I don't like Michael Bay.
Yeah, I've learned. He did Underground 6.
Yeah, like that's one thing I do not like Michael Bay.
But you said it was a good flick.
Because Ryan Reynolds.
I mean, he is amazing.
Yeah. It's like...
Ryan, if you're listening, we'd love to have you on as a guest.
Yeah, because you're amazing.
Yeah.
Like, you're like his personality, he can... I mean, even in Deadpool, right?
Yeah, I mean,
he is dead. He's literally
he
Deadpool.
is
Like
Deadpool.
I could read the comic and be like, just hear Ryan Reynolds' voice because he is Deadpool.
Like they are synonymous with each other, and it's amazing that he like recognized that so early on. Was like, I want to play Deadpool. I want to play Deadpool. I want to play Deadpool. Like I have to play Deadpool. And they're like, okay, you can play Deadpool, and they gave him that crappy Deadpool in Wolverine Origins. And I love the fact that they took shots at it in the new Deadpools.
I hated that.
Like, it's. That is the Deadpool, like fourth wall breaks all the way through. Doesn't matter.
So, but you have like you have some people like that can create stuff, and it's like, wow, that's awesome, right? But have you heard of the show The Nevers on HBO Max?
No, I do not have HBO, so my HBO Max knowledge is limited. Okay,
it's a great show.
Is it somewhere else that I might be able to watch? That
not yet, but it could be.
Somebody needs to get on that then.
The Nevers is great, but you know who created it?
No.
Joss Whedon. So,
right.
Ironically.
Okay, but we're coming back to what we've talked about previously, right? Like, are you just going to stop watching anything that Joss Whedon has ever done?
No.
Right? Like, sure, the guy's a turd, but, you know, I mean, like, he's made some good quality content. Okay? Like, I just don't think... I don't know.
I mean, it's a slippery slope, right? Because when I read an article about this, and I'm like, you got to be kidding me. So this is after everybody was like, cancel Joss Whedon, right? They signed, like, Warner signed him to 2 seasons.
Oh, yeah.
Like, right off the bat. They're like, this is great. We're going to run with it. I'm like, yeah. And it's a great show. Like, That's the really crappy part. It's a great show.
Well, that's what I'm talking about. I mean, the guy has made some really good stuff. Like, the Justice League was not one of them, apparently. Nope. But like I think he has at times been very good at bringing certain characters to life. I think part of what I wasn't planning to get into a whole Joss Whedon thing, but I was a fan for a long time because of stuff like Firefly and Serenity, and so when he got the chance to work on things like Avengers, I was really excited. Some of the other shows that he had done were also pretty good, like Dollhouse. It's just like weird kind of stuff. The thing that I think people always kind of prescribed him as this, like, oh, he's this amazing feminist, like these strong female characters, and I'm like, are we watching the same shows?
No, we're not.
Like,
did you ever watch Buffy?
Yeah, exactly. Like, oh, I'm Buffy. Oh, Angel, save me.
You gotta watch that.
No, but I love Buffy. I'm just saying, like, the point is that he was always kind of held up as this pillar of feminism amongst the geek community, and then it's like, oh wait, he's just another like misogynistic kind of asshole. And
so, to be fair though, right, like, think about the product you're selling. Like, that's what I always go back to. It's like, all right, be careful what you're asking for. Like, I'm selling like strong female character. Like, for example, let's take him out of the equation. Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
Right? Let's put Brie Larson in skin tight clothes.
Right.
And make extra poses.
I mean,
Wonder Woman, Scarlett Johansson, like however you want to like dress this up. I think the product you're selling isn't what you think you're getting. It just can't be. It's like, no, you're selling it to guys. You're still selling it to guys, and the thing that you think is a secret ingredient is always sex. Well, sure. And the thing you think is a secret ingredient is like a sexual appeal.
Yeah. I mean, and they do the same thing with women, right? I mean, Jason Momoa, without his shirt on in Aquaman, like,
my wife
that wasn't a massive thirst trap.
Jeez. I didn't want to talk about that movie.
But I'm just saying, right? Like, that's like,
it made $1 billion. It was garbage.
Yeah, it was a good flick.
The story was like, it was like playing,
the story was ping ponging all over the place.
Yeah.
Like, there were massive holes in the plot. I enjoyed it because I had absolutely no I went in going, this is going to be one of the worst 2 hours of my life spent watching something on screen. That's coming from a guy that walked out halfway through, what was it? That Ben Affleck, Morgan Freeman movie.
Ben Affleck, Morgan Freeman.
Yeah.
Oh, 7 Monkeys?
No. That's
Or
Ben
7?
Affleck. No, wait. That's Ben.
that was Bruce
Brad
Willis.
Pitt.
Yeah.
Morgan Freeman.
I almost said they all look alike.
Well.
That's racist. Huh?
Yeah, but that's okay. Like the Sum of All Fates, right? Or something like
Never
that.
watched that. What is that?
Is this like stupid movie back in the... No, or maybe it was Deep Impact. No, Sum of All Fears. That's what it was.
Yep, that's not... That will never make it on my list.
CIA... Oh, no, it's a Jack Ryan flick.
Oh, really?
Yeah, CIA analyst Jack Ryan must stop the plans of a neo-Nazi faction that threatens to induce a catastrophic conflict between the United States and Russia's president by detonating a nuclear weapon at a football game in Baltimore, Maryland. Tune in later tonight to see if he makes it.
You're an idiot. It's the dumbest. Really? That's... You know what? I'm going to be honest with you, dude. Like... I completely dismissed what's that kid's name? Michael B. Jordan's new flick.
Which one?
The one it's based on a Tom Clancy book.
Okay.
What is it called?
I'm looking.
No Remorse or some crap like that. I literally was just like, yo, come on, man. I literally said, yo, B, don't be doing these crazy...
Wrong answer?
No, it's like his new joint. Michael B. Jordan.
Yeah.
Tom Clancy.
Oh, Without Remorse.
Without Remorse.
Sorry.
Yeah. I like completely dismissed that because I'm like, yo, is this a cash grab flick? Then I found it was a Tom Clancy book. But what messed me up was the trailer looked like some B-roll crap. I'm like, come on, man. Don't be that guy.
I feel like you just slap Tom Clancy's name on something and everybody's like, oh, it must be good.
But that's what I'm saying. So for me, it was like a bait and switch, right? They gave this hyper action movie, but every part of the trailer was like, this is like a low budget film.
I mean, and like high budget films aren't required. Like you don't have to have a big budget in order to make a good movie. But
his lines were garbage.
Well, and that's where like the writing's got to be.
You don't want to do this with me, or I'm like, come on, man. You're not like we need our best agent. He can do more than like as one person than what a squad of 10 people can do. I'm like, what kind of...
Okay, well that's pretty much like 90% of Tom Clancy's shit. So... There's only one man, and his name is Jack Ryan. I mean, Jack Reacher. I mean, Tom Clancy. I mean...
But I completely, like, I was like, yeah, I'm not watching that. I'm not going to watch my guy come from, like... Because I watched Creed and Creed 2, and I'm like, yo, he's actually a pretty good actor.
They're making Creed 3.
Awesome. Earn that paycheck, Michael B. Jordan.
Cha-ching!
Get that money, B.
I just saw that in production.
Earn that paycheck. Yo.
I mean, what is he supposed to do? Like,
I mean, but do so. I mean, it's like, what's your legacy going to be? Like, what's the... I watched... I was making breakfast this morning, and I had Cinema Sins on, and they were doing the Batman joint with George Clooney and Chris O'Donnell.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's Chris, and I forgot his name, right? I'm like, that's CSI deal with LL. And I couldn't remember. I'm like making my breakfast going, yo, what's that dude's name? And I was not going to look it up.
You were determined to figure out what it was.
I was like, I will figure this kid's name out. But that movie may have launched him for a little bit, but ruined him at the same time.
I mean, yeah.
That was my conclusion, because now he's like on CSI, like freaking Soho with LL Cool J.
Yeah. CSI Soho. You know, you ever watch Arrow?
Yeah.
The WB show? The guy that played him, I thought looked like a cheap Chris O'Donnell.
Yo, but that kid's like in shape, yo.
He is, yeah.
Like he did a lot of his own stunts, and yo, what's wrong on television, right? Seriously, when Arrow first came out years ago, I watched the first episode, and I was like, yo, I rock with the show.
Yeah.
I was watching Supernatural because there was nothing like sci-fi hero-y on TV, and the CW had the catalog for that.
Sure.
But I've noticed I didn't watch the last season of Arrow. I didn't watch the last season or two of Supernatural because television has gotten so garbage, and it's like gimmick after gimmick. I can tell you what every show is going to have in it just by the sixth episode. I'm like, this is probably where we're going to end up, and it's just not entertaining.
Well, it's because it's what makes money. It's not about entertainment anymore. It's just about what makes money, And
it's sad.
I mean, you're lucky, I guess, in a lot. I say you. I don't mean you, but we're lucky, I guess, that we have avenues like Hulu and Netflix that are kind of providing another place for some of those burgeoning, artistic formats, whether it's stand-up comedy or TV or movies. And I think that's kind of cool because I feel like we get a lot more of that. At the same time, I feel like the quality of some of that stuff is pretty garbage too. Or it's just, I don't know, they crank out so much of it. Sometimes I'm like, how can this all be of a certain quality? But
I agree, and I think that we're going to end up in this really weird space with that because, I'm sure you heard that
collaboration, synergy, thinking outside the box, raising the bar, breaking down silos, shifting the paradigm, disrupting the market, business.
Warner Brothers or Warner Media and Discovery are gonna merge.
Yeah.
I do think it's gonna force everybody to kind of circle the wagons. I don't know who's gonna be left standing. I don't think there's gonna be I don't think there's gonna be this huge price hike. It's gonna have to force content to be better. I think HBO Max and Disney Plus will eventually. The top three, in my opinion, are going to be HBO Max, no particular order, Netflix, and Disney Plus.
Yeah.
End of story. So
you think Hulu is gone?
No, well, Hulu is a great avenue for network television because most people people continue to cut the cord, and it's a good way to put ads in front of people.
Well, and I guess if you loop Hulu in with Disney Plus,
then Disney wins, right? But CBS, Peacock,
CBS is one of those ones, right? They've had their CBS All Access. They do all the sports stuff. Yeah, I couldn't care less. Any of the CBS shows are also usually on Hulu, even because they've been struggling, I think, to get people to sign up for their CBS All Access stuff. But now they're part of the Paramount family, right? And it's just, I don't know. I just feel like we're getting back to the point where it's okay, we're going to have three media companies that control, have all of these subsidiaries, and it just.
So, or I think the networks messed up because that was actually a partnership with the top three: CBS, ABC, and NBC, right? And Fox.
Mm-hmm.
I keep forgetting about Fox.
Yeah.
Their plan was to compete against Netflix, and the only way they can do that to get a catalog was to combine. It still worked in their favor for right now. I was reading a study that most people under 40 have a Hulu subscription, so they're still making money.
Yeah.
For them to separate from Hulu and think that their own property is going to take them across the line, they're fooling themselves.
Yeah.
I don't give a crap about anything on CBS All Access. I don't care about
the Peacock stuff too. There's, I think we've watched a couple of things on there. I don't even remember what it was.
Probably, yeah, because it wasn't that memorable.
Yeah, it wasn't. Right. It wasn't. It was why do we have to go to Peacock to watch this?
So I think that they waited too long, or
Yeah.
their first step was the right step, was to like, the only way that broadcast television is going to make it in the streaming universe, in my opinion, is to be on a Hulu. You don't need to have your own property to kind of get in front of eyeballs, because I don't associate SNL with Peacock.
Well, I guess the question is, are they going to make the same kind of money that they're making there if they're doing everything through Hulu, right? Or through these other streaming services that they are through cable services?
So I think that's a fair point. Unless they have original content, then the answer is no, right? It's got to be original, exclusive to that platform.
Well, so I guess what I'm asking is if they abandon their own platform to exclusively sell their content on streaming platforms or on a streaming platform, they wouldn't be making anywhere near the amount of money that they're making doing it the way that they're doing right now.
Well,
right?
So the second part to that is the long play is the hardware, right? Roku, for all intents and purposes, has won the streaming device war. Like everything else falls second to.
You don't think that the battle with Google over the YouTube TV stuff with Roku is ultimately going to be anything to worry about? I mean, because I love my Rokus. Like Roku has been. We talked about this before.
Yeah, it's the most convenient player to buy.
Yeah.
Right? So
even on my smart TVs, I usually have a Roku.
So what I think is going to continue to happen is, like, I have an HD home run, and I can DVR stuff through my Plex server. So I think that as that technology becomes more readily available, like the DVR technology, self-contained, not a TiVo, but something smaller, super easy for end users to use, maybe Hulu goes away, right? Potentially. But then I'm just hooking up an antenna to record that same stuff, and I don't need to have Hulu. So I think they're hedging their bets in the wrong place because they haven't thought about hardware. Subscriptions are only going to take you so far. And it's kind of like when you go to a restaurant, and I've seen this happen where people say, "Can I have a Coke?" Is Pepsi okay? The brand association with the hardware is it a Roku? And everything else that may come after that, people may use it, but the first question people will ask is, can I add a Roku to it? So I think Roku's hardware play was pretty smart. And the prices, I understand they either break even or take a loss on each device. They make it up in ads.
Yeah.
So that's
brilliant.
Yeah.
Recognizing, like, this isn't where we're going to make our money. The point is to get these devices out into the hands of consumers who are then going to be part of our, profit generation by having ads that we can display to them regularly.
Yeah.
And like I do, so I absolutely love my Roku. I don't mind the ads. Like they do it in such a way that I'm like, all right, cool. It's not obtrusive. Like I love the little scrolling thing, if I leave it on, and I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Maybe I would want to watch that,
I never do.
But it like it doesn't. It's not obtrusive. Like I'm not like, oh, this is so annoying.
It's not like my Fire Stick I have in the kitchen, right? Like where it's like, for all things holy, please stop taking over the whole like user experience. Their new UI is actually more usable, and I actually like it, but it's not as simple as a Roku. And I think that's going to be the second part to this whole battle, and I don't think anybody's paying attention to it. I do believe that DVR technology is going to become easier for people to use, because I'm on the far extreme of what people do with DVRs.
Yeah.
As that becomes easier and easier, then Hulu. Well, I think Hulu will still be in the game because you can actually aggregate all those channels, but
For those of us who don't want to invest in the hardware or learn because we're lazy, we're like, oh, that's cool. Hulu, you can keep.
Yeah, it's super simple. Now, the thing that, like, where Disney benefits is that they own 90% of Hulu.
Right.
Which is cool. So CBS's, NBC, and Fox, their participation actually, strengthens the coffers of Disney.
Right.
But they're damned if they do, damned if they don't.
Yeah. I mean, they're doing everything they can to try and drive people to their own streaming services, but I think, like you said, it's too little too late for the bulk of them. And none of them alone offer the type of content that you can get from any of the other streaming services right now. Right. I mean, like, I haven't... CBS and Paramount is not... I'm not like, no, I'm good.
Like Paramount, the only thing that would be like, I am not going to, like if I was an MTV watcher, I'm not going to get the Paramount app to watch MTV, because that means more than likely if I'm already watching MTV channels, I already have cable. So there's a lot of things where it's like.
And honestly,
hey,
if you're still watching MTV, like, what is wrong with you?
Jersey Shore. Floribama Shore.
I always forget about that.
I like to watch those grenades go.
Cabsy here. So, like last week we talked a little bit about the gas shortage caused by the attack on the Colonial Pipeline here on the East Coast. And I was reading the article today that was talking about how it turns out that they went ahead and paid the ransom. Some $4.5 million or so in Bitcoin, because who doesn't want to get paid in Bitcoin these days? And yeah, like I mean, I'm not shocked that, like, everybody's like, well, we really wish they wouldn't have paid, but we totally understand why companies do this. And
no, we don't. Here's why I don't understand it. It pisses me off. The only system that was hacked was their billing system.
Yeah.
Had nothing to do with their operations.
But they shut everything down because they were worried somehow it was going to spread, supposedly.
No, they're two separate systems.
Yeah.
They were worried they wouldn't know how to bill North Carolina or South Carolina or Virginia or Maryland. That's all they were worried about. To the tune of $4.5 million.
I mean, it's not going to stop if they keep getting paid, right? Like,
they're lazy SOBs when it comes to technology. Like, you harden your system. Like, seriously, there's no reason. First of all, if the two systems are isolated and you shut everything down because you're worried about...
No, I mean, what you're saying makes perfect sense, though, right? How can we pump gas to North Carolina and Virginia if we don't know how much we're pumping, and we therefore, or we're not able to basically bill them for it?
You pick up the damn phone,
No, it's better to just shut everything down and create a gas shortage. Because then what do? You drive the price of gas up.
I know, because
I mean, this is like a win-win. You think they probably raked in more than $4.4 million over the last week and a half over the freaking gas shortage and all that stuff, right?
No, they probably couldn't, and I'm speculating here because they have to sell at a fixed rate, right? At the volume they're moving the product at, but their insecurity and like their overall business is what concerns me. Like, that's like they flinched, like somebody jabbed at them and they flinched. Like, they literally did not have to flinch. If they were smart, and if you're listening, Colonial Pipeline, right? Hopefully you have backups. Hopefully you can like spin up that whole instance and you kill the one that was compromised and you keep operating. No harm, no foul.
But that's where most of these companies fall short, is that they don't have that type of foresight, right? And they're cheap and they opt not to have backups of stuff, which is probably more often the case.
Yeah, I'm going to go with that one. I would think like you would have like a replication of whatever like running system you have, and
if you're that big, right? Like, yeah, exactly.
Everything about it was like, yo, at the end of the day, you paid $4.5 million.
But like, I mean, again, like we come back to like the FAA operating off of MS-DOS, right? For how long? Like we trust airplanes in the sky to freaking zeros and ones. Like, I mean, granted, I mean, I know all computer zeros and ones, but it's like.
It's stupidity at its finest.
It's laziness. I mean, like it's just straight up lazy and cheap is what it is. Like it is the worst level of penny pitching. It is. I mean, it's like it's part of this whole infrastructure issue I think we find ourselves in now, where it's like, well, we don't really want to invest in it right now. Okay, well, it's going to cost you 10 times as much down the road. Well, we'll just pay that much 10 times down the road. Like.
But who's okay with that?
Well, the people who are in charge now who figure I'm not going to be here in 10 years and it's not going to be my problem.
Well, F those guys.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just saying, like, there should be some serious consequences for those idiots that pay. No, actually, you know what? Screw that. Let me take that back. If I'm North Carolina, I'm looking at other alternatives as opposed to CP. Like, they're not my guy.
Sure.
Like, okay, sure. You did what you did. I respect your decision. I'm looking for a plan B. There's got to be a plan B. There's got to be some enterprising company out there that says, yeah, if you didn't like what CP did to you and it caused a panic for like 6 days. We talked about this. It's going to be a week.
Yeah.
And, and on top of that, they banked on everybody. I know they got me. Like, I literally put half a tank of gas, $5 less than what it would have cost me to fill up my car. So I know they banked. And I saw gas prices today like two and a quarter, something like that.
2 and a quarter? Where are you seeing that?
I saw it on going on South Saunders Street.
Oh, well, yeah. If you want to try to South Saunders Street.
Well, I was going downtown, so.
Out here in Cary, it's still $2.89.
Yeah, I saw 2 and a quarter on South Saunders Street this morning, maybe $2.50. Yeah, it was $2.50. So it was fairly cheap. So that means that.
I mean, it never got over $3 for basic here.
So you probably capped out like what, $2.97 or something like that?
I think $2.89 was the most that I paid at any point.
Really? I literally paid 40 cents more, like a week.
No, I mean, so like, because I had gone to the Harris Teeter gas station that morning,
but during the crisis,
yeah, right? On Tuesday, but Tuesday morning,
you don't remember what it was the week prior. So
it was like $2.69. I mean, it went up probably 20 cents.
Okay, so I know premium went up for like
probably about 40
cents. Yeah.
When I was down at the beach this weekend, we were coming back. I was just kind of looking. And I was like, well, if I see it, I'll stop and get some just in case. I had a little over half a tank, so I had plenty to get back. And I found some, and I think it was $2.89 again. Like it wasn't. Right. It wasn't terrible. 20 cents isn't great, but it's like, I mean, if I fill up my tank, it's $4 more.
Yeah. So that's all I'm saying. It's like we gotta, like, for us as a state, leadership question for the state of North Carolina, not just like Governor Cooper, but for the state.
Yeah.
What's our plan B?
Right.
Because these guys are going to quake, and they flinched.
Right. And we now know that their system is weak.
Yeah.
Right. Like, so why are you just going to sit here and be like, oh no, I'm sure they'll fix all the problems that they had next time.
I'm sure they'll just write a check.
Yeah. They'll just cancel our gas again, It'd be like if Duke Energy had a billing issue and they're like, we're just going to turn off the power to everybody till we figure this out. Don't worry, though. It won't cause a crisis.
Okay, Texas.
Oh, I won't. I'm not even going to get into that.
But yeah.
I got a whole lot of thoughts on Texas today, but
I did see a funny story. Like, there's a place called the Burger something. What is it called? A place in your hometown,
My hometown. Which hometown?
Yeah, your unofficial one in Greensboro.
Oh, okay.
The Beef Burger. They were closing, but they weren't closing on Facebook, right?
Yeah.
So somebody heard something on Facebook that this place was closing. Dude, lines were stacked. Like, stacked. This one guy in this clip, he was in line for like 2 hours or something for a burger. Okay, you shake your head, but
I'm listening.
That's customer loyalty.
It is. Okay. I don't know that there's any burgers I've ever had that I would wait 2 hours for, but
there was a time, and when I worked for this one place, all the power went out in Cary, and I was in charge of this one location in Preston.
Yeah.
And I kid you not, dude, and it happened to me twice. I was like, F my life. My life sucks. Dude, there's an Adam Sandler movie where he goes to, get breakfast, but it was like 10:31 and he freaks out. It happened to me like 30 times that day. And I actually had to, so I was in Preston. A lot of the executives for that company lived in Preston. I had power. So the reason I had power was because my location was attached to a gas station.
Right.
So I was fortunate. Well, that's not the word I would use. I had power.
You had power.
And it was like 10, it was 10:20, and we couldn't keep up. And I was like, yeah, people are ordering breakfast. And I'm like, yeah, I just got to tell them like, it's not going to happen. So I go to the front, and the lobby's packed. There are cars wrapped around the building twice. And this is literally no joke.
Yeah.
Like the line was, it was like I don't know what it was like a spiral.
It's just,
there were people standing outside, but they also went into the parking lot. That's how many people there were. And I was like, hey, I know you ordered breakfast, but I'm just going to tell you, like, right now, you'll never get it. So we're going to start serving lunch, and I'm very sorry. And people were pissed. Yeah. They were pissed. I've been standing in this line for 3 hours.
I want my...
And I'm like, I'm so sorry. Like, we just can't do it. Yeah, we cannot do it. There was one of the he was helping, and we got to do a lot of bleeping out here, but because I don't want it. And he was dropping oil on the floor and like messing up. I was like, look, can you just go over there? Like,
can you just get out of the way? You're making things so much worse.
And there was a time where we also remodeled this one restaurant, and we had to close for 2 days, and people were not okay with that. They were mad. Like, why are you closed? I'm like, because we're trying to make it better for you.
Unacceptable.
I just want my Mountain Dew.
I don't need it better. I just want my Mountain Dew. Yeah.
So
that's customer loyalty for you.
Yeah, the beef burger.
Okay, so in the end, they didn't close.
The sad part is they ended up closing because the owner, who's been running this place for 50 years, was hospitalized.
Okay.
Broke my heart. I was like, I thought it was a social media like a joke.
Yeah.
And then I was like, man, it's a good story. It's like, they really love this place. For somebody to stand in line for like 2-3 hours to support this guy, that's like, if you're running a business, that's what you want. You want those people to show up. So,
fair.
Yeah, go Greensboro. What else we got?
I know last week, or not last week, but during the week, I sent you that article about ghost kitchens. And no, it's not like a ghost in your kitchen or seeing a vision of a kitchen that's not there anymore. But it's this, I don't know. I'm trying to come up with something creative there. But it's this practice basically of running fake restaurants out of existing kitchens. As a way during like delivery service and all of this stuff.
That's a thing, dude.
Yeah. So I guess. How long has this been going on?
It's been going on for years. It's literally a thing. In Europe, it's very popular, and also in the Middle East. So, for example, I can't remember the name of the countries, but KFC is the benefactor of this.
Mm-hmm.
So, in one neighboring country, you can't order KFC, but the border is so really non-existent. You can actually set up shop in a ghost kitchen, and you literally cook all the KFC chicken in this one spot, and somebody takes a motorcycle and drives it to another spot where people can pick it up. So the article, when you sent it to me, I was like, oh my God, it's hit the States, and it's hit the States bad. So typically in countries where the UK, they're pretty popular, where they sell probably 10 items, because the food districts there are super competitive. People eat out a lot in the UK. In the Middle East, it's kind of like, well, first of all, I didn't realize how popular KFC was outside the United States.
Yeah, but it is
it's super popular. But during COVID, I've seen a bunch. I still follow a lot of restaurant trade journals and websites, and that was one of the complaints that mom and pop shops are having, was that Uber Eats, not DoorDash, but who's their competitor? Grubhub and Postmates were encouraging people to sell products, and they were actually, and I'm not trying to take them out of context, so there's no defamation lawsuits, but those Uber Eats, Grubhub, and Postmates were the three offenders of either running ghost kitchens, mm-hmm. or doing rebranding of products. So I've seen a few articles where you're ordering hot wings from Chris's Hot Wing Shack.
It's
really
Hut.
Applebee's.
Yeah.
So I don't think that's going to go away. I think that for one of the industries I always look at is restaurants. Obviously, it's an indicator of some of the gaps that we have in our service industry. People have to, and they want to eat, right? They have to eat, but they want to eat out a lot.
Yeah, and I guess to me, it just kind of underscores the fact that we have so many kitchens out there, right?
We really
underused kitchens.
Yes. Okay. That's a fair fact.
You have kitchens that are gross, way larger than they need to be for the amount of food that you're serving at your restaurant itself, and so you have the capacity to be able to do these other orders and stuff like that, essentially.
In a commercial kitchen, technically, no. No, you don't. You have, because it costs you per square footage to build a larger kitchen. The problem is when volume drops and you want to keep the lights on.
Well, so I guess then that's maybe the point, is that because of the overabundance of restaurants that we have in the area,
there you go.
You have a bunch of restaurants that have extra capacity because they're not filling up. Right. There isn't the clientele.
Yeah, and I think that's, I don't know if that's going to go away, and I've actually stopped using the food delivery apps on my phone, because the more I became aware of it, I was like, this can't be a thing. And when you sent me that article, I was like, oh my God, it's still going on. It's still happening. So,
I guess, can you use them and just order from the places aren't ghost kitchens? Like Moe's or Chipotle?
You won't know face value.
I mean,
you think I'm joking?
No, what I'm saying, Chipotle,
their recipes aren't ironclad.
I'm not saying they're ironclad, but it's just you think that when I ordered my Chipotle last night, that Postmates picked it up from a ghost kitchen and not the one in Mooresville?
Okay, that's a stretch.
I mean, that's what I'm just saying. I'm just asking, legitimately.
Let's say
if I'm already ordering from the chain restaurant, that's not that I think that I'm supporting some mom and pop shop, but really it's Applebee's cooking my food.
So yeah, that's more the problem. it's the mom and pops that are going to suffer.
I don't support them anyways. Down with entrepreneurship.
Well,
You shouldn't be in the restaurant business anyways. Listen to my friend Andre.
Okay, but I actually pulled back my statement because I realized, like, oh, that's why people open restaurants. But stop opening restaurants. Find something else to do. God.
Open a construction company.
No, don't do that.
Just invest in the stock market. Bitcoin.
No. All bad advice. We are not financial planner certified. We're not CFPs.
Sell.
No. I mean, the ghost kitchens, if it's spreading that much, and I probably see, well, this month that makes 3 articles. That means it's going to be a problem.
Yeah, and this is not the first time that I've heard about it.
Right.
Because back probably 8 or 9 months ago, I feel like there was another article that was talking about how, especially during the pandemic, ghost kitchens had become like a really big deal because it, in a lot of ways, like it provided an easy way to deliver a variety of food from one location, right? And so your delivery radius becomes much shorter. So, like, on one front, like, it kind of has a benefit, but I do see where if you're a mom and pop shop who's trying to compete or stay alive during this time, that having the Applebee's cooking up hot wings that someone thinks is coming from some other restaurant,
Right.
Is not exactly, doesn't seem fair, I guess, in that way. Like,
Yeah, because you get generic packaging.
yeah.
It's the same kitchen, same workload, same production, and boom, right?
Yep.
I don't know. And I think that I still believe that it's going to be probably summer 2022 when we see like a light at the end of the tunnel for our day-to-day economy. I don't know what that looks like.
Usually it's like a bright dot, but everything else is dark. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. This has been the Chris and Andre Show.
And now we have video because when I talk to people and I just like my brain has already decided what it's going to say. I'm like, no, you can't say that because you can't take it back. So
I cracked myself up in case you guys haven't noticed yet.
That's 2. That's 2 in this episode, and that's 2 people that are pushing the button. So I'm gonna wrap it up with this. We went to Puerto Rico and with one of the other guys in my circle, and he literally said something to me, and I responded. He goes, "What? I hurt your feelings?" And I'm like, "What?" Like, you can't hurt my feelings. He goes, "Oh, I hurt your feelings." I'm like, "You didn't hurt my feelings. Stop saying that." I'm trying to enjoy my cigar, and you're like talking stupid crap. And other people come over, he's like, "I hurt Dre's feelings." I'm like, "Yo, you gotta stop saying that." Because again, it's like, and I literally did the same thing. It's like, God,
Come on, I want to hit you so bad right now, but I can't. Because you're my friend. Oh, God, I hate you.
Yeah. So, yeah. I keep my feelings bottled up right here. It's like heartburn. It's literally like heartburn. So now we have video and people can see the fact that that guy doesn't like that. He does not like that.
Oh.
That moment of silence, there's a reaction.
That was
to that.
great.
Yeah, it was awful. Shut up.
That's captured forever.
So we're super glad you guys joined us. We try to make sure we get everything published in a timely manner.
Some of us.
Some, not naming names, but If you haven't subscribed yet, we're on SoundCloud, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Pandora, Google Podcasts, TuneIn. And for anybody that's super adventurous and tech savvy, you can always check us out by going to our website at chrisandandreshow.com and grabbing our RSS feed.
Just don't grab us. That's sexual harassment.
Yeah, that's how rumors get started. We're on Facebook. Look us up at the Chris and Andre Show. And Twitter at Chris and Andre-ish. We're there, but we're probably breaking up with social media.
Well, the handle is not at Chris and Andre-ish, just to be clear. But we are still on Twitter. I wasn't aware that we were apparently on the outs with our social media, but
I just can't, man. There's too much.
You literally just told me earlier this week that you were going to be getting back on social media yourself.
I thought about
to help promote the podcast so that I didn't have to put the team on my back.
Insert video here.
And we can do that now.
Yeah. You can always, yeah. I'm going to ignore you now.
Just do it.
I'm just done. You can email us at the Chris and Andre Show at comments at Chris and Andre Show.
We need to update the show doc.
Yeah, I did change that. But we're super glad you hung out with us. You got to see Chris push some buttons. My feelings aren't hurt.
No. Andre's
can't do that.
Yeah, you can't hurt Andre's feelings.
My feelings are right here. They're like, I keep them in a little bottle. Then I squeeze the top. I push it down. And there's my feelings right there.
His doctor says that it's very healthy.
That's normal.
It's normal and that there's nothing to worry about there.
That stroke you're going to have? Yeah, it's self-inflicted.
Yeah.
But as always, I'm Andre.
And Chris says something.
And we'll talk to you next time.